Truth seekers 88 were locked in tight. Ain't no chains, we know what's ours. Standing on God-given rights, ain't hiding behind bars.
They spin stories, but we see through. Digging up facts, calling out what's true. No trolls, no noise, just the real deal. Unmasking the lies they try to conceal.
Kicking it with the truth seekers 88. Hanging with the crew, locking in, feeling great. Knowing alright, standing strong, ain't bowing down. We prove them wrong. We bump straight, never lose our way. Truth seekers stand tall every day.
Stacked, gold in sight, a legacy built on truth and might. Debunking stories, taking no spin. Turn the mic up, let the truth begin.
When times get tough, we hold the line. A tribe that's real, we became a family in time.
Need a hand, you ain't alone. Truth seekers make this place feel like home. Moon high, signals clear. No fear, only truth up in here. Turn it up, let them know. Truth seekers on the show. Kicking it with the truth seekers 88. Fire in the chat, no trolls at the gate. We bomb straight, never hesitate.
We stand as one, we lift, we rise, we elevate. Kicking it with the truth seekers 88. Fire in the chat, no trolls at the gate.
We bomb straight, never hesitate. We stand as one, we lift, we rise, we elevate.
Hey, welcome. Man, what a beautiful Monday. Hope everybody's had a beautiful Monday so far. And we're going to do the best we can to share with you a little bit tonight and leave you having a beautiful evening. Lots to share. And we're going to get into that. We'll say hello to everybody before we do and get the show officially started. I want to say hello to Scruffy Lou. What's up, Scruffy Lou? Good to see you again tonight. And we got Mr. and Mrs. Sheepdog here with us tonight. Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Bueno.
What's up? Hey, Sheepdog, I'll have your wellness check out there for you tomorrow, man. I'll send them with some Mexican jumping beans.
Yeah, I got to stick to English because they're signing an executive order banning Spanish.
Right.
Right. Oh my goodness. I was scrolling through Facebook a while ago and Grill Nation posted a video of them pulling a prime rib out of the smoker, boy, and cutting it. Oh, about passed out. It was curl your feet looking good, right? It's so where we got folks at tonight. We got Facebook is working. LinkedIn is working. TruthSeekers.com is working. Let me see here. Let's say hello to everybody. Where are you jumping on from tonight, folks? I see we got some familiar faces. Scott C in the house. What's up? And the Mickey and the Moo Moo. Already said hello to Miss Scruffy Lou. We got Miss Kaz on. Mickey's calling in, joining us tonight from Nebraska, but her real home is in Louisiana, right? Nolans, right? Guaranteed. Naples, Florida in the house. Los Angeles, California in the house. We got Northwest Ohio. Urbana, Ohio, Portsmouth, Ohio, I think it is. Painesville, Ohio. Wow, Ohio's jumping in. We got Kentucky rolling in. Lake Cumberland, Kentucky as well. Oklahoma in the house. Eureka Springs, Arkansas in the house. Concord, North Carolina in the house. All right. Welcome, Miss Bonnie. Alabama in the house. What's up? Temple, Texas. Mr. Roger. How you doing, Mr. Roger? We got Illinois in the house. Punta Gorda, Florida in the house. PA in the house. Las Vegas, Nevada. Brandon, Florida. And another Florida in the house. Southern Indiana is in the house. Urbana, Illinois, if I said that correctly. That one stumped me for a second. Arkansas in the house, and it's warm and steamy in Arkansas. Got some storms going on there too, huh? Texas is reporting the same thing. Boots on the ground. The dogs in the house. Tucson, Arizona. Grant, Florida. Pennsylvania in the house. West Virginia in the house. South Carolina. Oklahoma. Louisville, Kentucky in the house. Wow. We got Miss Delphine in the beautiful Upper Peninsula of somewhere in the house. Minnesota's in the house. Minnesota. Stormy Minnesota with Miss Ruth. Stay safe. We got Deep Run, North Carolina in the house. All right. Temple, Texas. Awesome. Canada, Miss Belinda. Another Alabama. Pleasanton, Texas is in the house. DJ Reed.
We got a Karen in the house.
We got a Karen in the house. Look out, folks.
Love you, Karen. Just
we're just kidding, Miss Karen. Call Chuck 247. By damn Mississippi in the house. Western New York, home of Bill Pullman. All right. Right on. We got Miss Renee in the house. Wow. Colorado's in the house. It's a big report coming out of Colorado on some military folks being arrested. We're trying to find out if that's true or not. We have no verification.
Yeah. I got
it. Go ahead, Sheepdog. You got it?
Yeah, I got it. I got one of the biggest stories tonight that I'm bringing.
Okay, cool.
Yep. It's going to be about, we're going to read a couple articles so we can get really in-depth look at it, see what's going on, and then take a look at it.
Yeah. the big story for me today was I don't know, about mid morning, couple hours before noon, right? Um, the I got a phone call, and it was boots on the ground. And this lady from Alabama, not going to say her name because I forgot to ask her permission, but um, she's been with us for quite a while, and she's a lovely spirited, God loving woman, and um, she has deep roots in her family, which she is not originally from America, but she is a citizen, not a citizen, but a sovereign in America. Came the right way, right? And she has family in Spain, and her brother, as a matter of fact, called her today and let her know that all of Spain was without power. And then I started seeing it more and more on social media: Spain, Portugal, Bulgaria, France, even, and others across the pond there are totally without power. Okay, the power grid is down basically. All right. Doesn't mean that they don't have internet if they got satellite and battery operated devices, so on and so forth, because there's some debunkers out there on some of the way it's posted. Some people posted it for to sensationalize the event, and basically we knew this was coming, and it's coming here next. Okay, once they get through the vast part of Europe across the pond, um, it's deemed to come this way, right? And we knew this for a while now. Okay, I guess Save Israel for Last is going to show up again. We're the real Israel, right? Turtle Island, the Americas, right? Excuse me. So that's been the big story for me, and it gets some people excited, and it scares some people. I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say I got a little bit of both angst and I got a little angst about it, and I'm also excited, folks. We've all been complaining about the possibility of the can being kicked for whatever reason. Okay, I'm not going to badmouth nobody right now, but for whatever reason, we've all complained about it, and we still kind of cling a little bit to the instant gratification, right? We won it over yesterday, right? And um, it's simple for it to be over. You just got to leave the theater, right? That's the first step in having it over. Then, and we can go on down the line. Our previous shows have talking about action that you can take with the knowledge that you gain, that you can verify for yourself through your own research. Um, which is why the sheepdogs and myself and the people that we share a lot, Taj Tariq Bey and Chief Pontiac Rod Hayes and the Empress and Young Elder and Beadle, even the guy over at Inspired, Mr. John Nolan, right? And who's got a real good show doing the same thing. Jacob of Israel, right? Uh, they're all talking about the anomalies that are going on. One of the big conversations is not just the power outage, but it's also how wonky the internet is right now, and it's reporting of numbers, and how the Zionists seem to have the large numbers without worry, and us folks that are out here working to get the truth out, like Jacob, and um, somewhat do it full time. Um, I know the sheepdogs and myself, we're basically full time, and we want to be able to inform people, not inform people to longer to be combative and scared or fear, but to inform people so that they have the knowledge, so they know what to do to take action. And if everybody's talking about the in the group of people I just mentioned, and then some, right? There's more out there. Uh, I'm sure. Just too many to name. But even the MAGA crowd is starting to change its tune to what they voted for, right? And so we're seeing a lot of flipping going on. All right. We're not really seeing it in the mainstream media. There's hints of it here and there, of course, and there always has been. They're going to give you occasionally a truth that you can chew on. You want to know why? Because they got to keep their rating, right? Sean Hannity has to keep his million+ viewers, uh, or he's breach of contract, right? So they'll tell you any damn thing amongst the propaganda, right? They'll tell you the propaganda. They'll tell you any damn thing else, right? And I'm not trying to say bad on Sean Hannity, but screw you if you can't take it, right? I mean, you're the one that signed the contract. You're the one that carried out the propaganda for the military-industrial complex over on Fox, Laura Ingraham, and all of them really. Got no use for them, and I don't want bad to come to them. I'd like to see them redeem themselves, but I just don't see it happening right now. But what I do see is the people outside of the media, the military-industrial complex, the Zionist movement, um, controlled by the Jesuits and MK Ultra and the Wi-Fi, the wide body, the Wi-Fi connection through the internet. Okay, the Internet of Things. We were uploaded to the cloud in 2000, folks. They made it known to us throughout the 25 years it took for us to get to this point. And it is it if we could just get going, right? I don't know how long we're going to deal with power outages, but they're definitely coming. I don't know how long we're going to deal with the banks being closed and everything else being closed. It's definitely coming. There was I will not say it was a leak, but the Empress definitely shared with everybody that her ledgers and banks are up and ready. She's ready to do business. That's why you see the banks are starting to fall. All right. We know that Chase and Wells Fargo and Bank of America are three of the banks that possibly could go away from here in this first round. But we will have banks, folks. We will have banks. But we will be the boss, not the bankers. Okay. The April 10th ruling that went on in Texas, all through public notice, is yeah, absolutely. We saw the TD Jakes step down, but we'll get into that in a little while too. Right now, I'm just kind of talking about the things that I've gone through today, and I went through a lot. Of people are using the coupon method. A lot of people are stepping away from paying taxes. They're trying to do it the right way, the lawful way. The recent matter in Texas has Texas standing up amongst the nations once again. So there's the rise up that Chief Pontiac or Rod Hayes talked about. Texas would stand first, right? I don't have any idea when we will lose power, Delphine. And I don't know that anybody does. If they do, just be careful with it, okay? Because in the past, it's been a perfect opportunity to get everybody's expectations set towards it happening. Yeah. Let me finish that, Joan, and I'll talk about that for a second. I want to talk about that Chase Bank being built, and the the whole thing is they're going to do what serves them until it plays out. Until we continue to stand up and start telling them that they need to go ahead and take it on down. You know, the fake President Trump. Okay, and I'm going to say fake President Trump, and I don't really care who it pisses off. You know, we got another Biden basically, but this particular Trump is tasked with doing a job, and he is doing it. It looks kind of weird because he's going against the grain. He's pissing off a lot of his base. And that's apparent if you go over to X, where a lot of his base is, and you can see they're all starting to get upset. But his job is to liquidate assets by any means necessary. Okay? So 5D chess is definitely at play. Okay? Do I know if he's playing 5D chess? No, but what he is reading is he is working off a script. Okay? And we wouldn't have the Empress saying she's ready for her banks to upload and go. And the other one, you'll see the other ones coming down. And their ledgers are ready and working. And yeah, we see a lot happen. This is all good, folks. That's right, cause she wouldn't be sharing those things unless it was happening. Okay. The thing with Trump being the liquidator, you got to go back to the Hopi prophecy. It's being played out again, just like the end times is being played out again. All shit that already happened. But there's nothing new under the sun. We knew this, right? We'll get to that in a minute, Joanne. As far as the banks go, someone said there's a new Chase Bank being built in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah, they're going to use it up, okay? And I'm going to compare it with a court today because the courts aren't nothing but an extension of the banking system. That's what the courts are right now. That's what judges are. They're bankers. They're not judges. And they're corrupt ones at that. So, boots on the ground in Panama City saw a for sale sign out in front of the courthouse. The sign on the door tells you that the courthouse is now closed, and they have moved the family aspect of the court. Evidently, they did juvenile and family court in this courthouse. All right. What does it say? It says on the door, it says closed, and I'll get this off my phone and onto social media so everybody can see it. Family Unified Court staff and has been moved to the main courthouse at 300 East 4th Street. We are closed for business. Okay, and there's no condition of them reopening. There's a big realtor sign out front that says the courthouse is for sale. The address is kind of wonky. It falls into the numbers. It's 533, right? Is the street address. It's 533 11th Street. Imagine that, right? 1111, right? Yeah, and the boots on the ground goes on to say that he hopes to see all of them in the Bay County closed and sold to someone who will do good with them. And that could be a possibility as well. The same thing goes for the Chase Bank that's being built in Arkansas. Every branch is not going to close all at one time. All right. We've seen that already. We've seen different areas have, branches closed down because they're franchises. All right. And it may be a franchise that, is building the one in Arkansas. I don't know. I'm just, speculating and making sense out of why they're building a new bank. Folks, they haven't disrupted their plans whatsoever. Despite whatever happens, right? They think that they're going to get by with this, and they think once the power goes out, the dollar collapses, they start pushing the digital piece all the way home, because we're already in the digital era, right? In a big time way. We're under mass police state surveillance, all digital. The war itself is digital information and technology. It's not a war of guns and weapons, although they are doing drone warfare. But what are they doing drone warfare? How are they doing it? They're doing it all electronically, right? Absolutely, Christina. They can't defeat God, right? We are and we're in uncharted waters, if you will. Okay, and that's a figure of speech, not watch the water type stuff, right? We've never been here before as a society, where a certain percentage of the population, like us all here gathering here, and if you're here, and new and you don't really know yet, but we see it happening, and the veil is being torn, right? The veil is being lifted, it's being torn, it's being shattered. Somebody texted me earlier and talked about the let me read the text. Let me see. Says the Pope Francis announcement, whether he passed some time ago or not. It says time for the gulas, and God doesn't exist, right? Their God doesn't exist. Okay, that meant every black magic contract is over. Didn't Chief Pontiac Rod Hayes tell us that the Conjure Wars was done, right? Which is why we talked about we have to be careful with our speech moving forward so we don't sling ourselves right back into it. But that meant that every black magic contract is over. Although there are some black wizards running around, and I don't necessarily agree with the 144,000 or counterattacking them with light magic, but there is we the people counterattacking with light magic. That's known as knowledge in our voice, right? The blackout has started, okay? And it's a definite time of where we can have a little angst and a little fear or being scared. But you want to know something? We have such a strong bond in our community, and we're starting to grow bigger and bigger, despite what people are saying. We're starting to grow bigger and bigger. We have such a bond in our community, even though we don't agree on everything. We absolutely are prepared to communicate and love on one another and let it vibrate out into the ether and counteract. Such as light magic, right? Love and light. I don't know that we're going to be out of power that long. There's no telling. Um, the first initial stories through the Q stuff was, 3 months, and so on. But again, a lot of that was sensationalized and infiltrated. Um, right on, Kenneth. Yes, Spain is blacked out. Yep. That doesn't mean the internet's down. It just means the power's out. I want to make that clear to everybody. Um, yep, there's a blackout in France. Absolutely. Ms. Joan is posting some good information as far as IDs go to fly. As we discovered, the real ID is not going to be the only thing that lets you get on a plane. We may come to a part. There were several France airports that reported closed by boots on the ground. I didn't even notice Sheepdog was gone. Thank you. I'm sorry, Sheepdog. Somebody kicked Sheepdog to the weeds.
Oh, gosh. I heard on the news just right before they said, I think it was Portugal got some of its power back. So
okay,
I don't know how long they've been out.
4 days. Yeah, 4 days.
Just partial.
Yeah. So they're partially repowered. They're not fully repowered. Welcome, New Hill, North Carolina. Glad you made it.
Yeah, they said it was a rare atmospheric phenomenon that took out the grid.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it. Yep.
Mike Dean said, "Who let the dog out?" They said it was a what now? Sheepdog, say that again. I'm sorry.
A rare atmospheric phenomenon.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's got something to do with the sensationalism reports that I'm seeing about it. I don't know.
Power went out, cyber attack type situation.
Okay. Well, we showed everybody. We played the movie that had the fire cell in it when the power goes out, right? When the power goes out, cyber.
Yeah. Best thing you do is stay home, and a lot of people got caught without cash.
Yeah.
So that was the number one thing I heard was they were caught off guard, and nobody didn't have cash on hand. So everything was digital. So that's what happens.
Yeah, all the ATMs, everything out. So
that shows you how good their digital utopia is going to be like when the power goes out. But Trump said they're going to fast track their new construction on electricity, right? They'll so they can have their own power, like Apple and all that.
A new grid.
Yeah, grid for them. Probably free energy. I'm sure they won't have a light bill.
Yeah, right.
Right. They probably haven't this whole time, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, they do. Without a doubt.
Yeah. So, I'm not saying we need to all run and overreact. Okay. What I am saying is, if you're not prepared, get prepared the best you can. And again, remember, this is a community that you have access to, and I believe you will still have access to, even when the power goes out. Okay. So if you can afford solar chargers for your phones and tablets, then please by all means do so. And then work with your neighbors. Okay. You don't have to answer a lot of questions or try to wake them up. They're going to want to know what the hell's going on, just like you. But that's the perfect opportunity for to allow it to happen naturally for them, right? And accelerate their awakening and to be there for them. Now, if your neighbor's an asshole, well, I don't know
Tell,
what to say.
Go to the
tell,
beach.
tell them
Yep.
the aliens are on the way to probe them.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, the beach is a good idea.
yeah. So we will work together, and we have seen in every crisis all of humanity come together and work together. Okay. Not that it has to be a crisis. I mean, for me, even though I do have a little bit of angst about it, I still want to celebrate, right? Let's get this party well onto the road.
We're gonna be out there partying. They're gonna be like, "What the hell? This ain't working."
Right.
They're supposed to be scared.
Yeah. So, um, so I didn't really have anything to share with you, just a conversation tonight. Um, and I just don't get caught up in the hoopla as much anymore. Um, it's not that I know what's going to happen or who's going to say what and all that. I'll listen in, and the sheepdogs will listen in for me sometimes because I'm off doing other things. But I spend most of my day helping people learn how to stand up for themselves. We've got numerous people in the community getting out of property taxes and taxes altogether. We've got numerous people calling out the fraud with the credit card, contract fraud with the credit cards. We've got numerous people. We've got numerous people. We've got numerous people. With court cases, and we've got numerous people uh, with cons. Okay, basically fake court cases or civil summons, and and so on and so forth. And that's what I spend most of my day, Sunday through Thursday. I say from 12 to 4, but yeah, it's inevitable. Somebody calls me at 9, right? And I'm not gonna say no. That's not who I am. And it just gets started there, and it goes on through 4 o'clock. I will say that everybody has gotten real good about letting me have that 4 o'clock cutoff. One, so I can get ready for the show, and two, I can get some time with the family as well. Um, uh, Instant coffee is a good thing to have, folks. Absolutely. Anything that is commodity now will be used to barter with. Your eggs you might need to guard those with your guns. Okay. I think eggs are worth more than silver now.
I got my eggs. I took all my gold and silver out of the safe and put my eggs in there.
Right.
Stop.
But yeah, I just think it's crazy. I mean, it's way crazier than the toilet paper, during COVID, right? The egg situation just crazy. Of course, we reiterate. Rod told us again. We've seen a lot of chicken houses burn up and cows burn up, but those are all the GMOs, right? And we're getting back to a more natural setting. And, that's the thing that you have to remember when the power goes out. It's a natural setting. It's a natural setting for us to build upon because the reset is happening for sure. And the world is ours to manifest. And we will. We will raise up all of humanity through this process. It's not going to be pain free. It's not been pain free. A lot of us have lost. One of the biggest question marks above my head right now is how much of the population is even real people. It might be flipped from what I've been sharing, and I've been sharing between 35 and 41%. And we're hearing the Aboriginals, indigenous say it's actually 60 to 70%. We'll see, but a lot of people are going to disappear either way. You know,
I'm gonna disappear to the beach.
right?
Right.
Sheepdog and I, yeah, the sheepdogs and I decided we're going to meet at the beach and pitch our tent and make sure we stay in a cool spot, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cook out every day.
Right?
Oh my. Yeah, that's a good thing. We have more daylight hours this time of year. Absolutely. Um, the calendar conversation I wanted to touch base on too. Okay, it was kind of a kick in the pants to hear that they moved the release of the med beds and all the technologies to July of 2026. But we quickly forgot that, I think it's what, April 1st is the first day of the year, right? I wonder if that's going to
Yep.
come into play because it has been put back into the conversation with the Pope death because it was 1562, I believe it was, when the Pope dropped the Julian calendar and brought on the Gregorian calendar, where we lost an additional 10 days in the process. Everybody remember that story?
Yep.
Yep. So I wonder if we might get that calendar switch. 13 months, 28 days, right? Uh, in the process of the reset. Um, so, it's something to look out for. If you don't know the whole calendar story, start asking questions and start digging. It's out there still, and it's being brought back to the forefront for a reason. Um, yeah, Mike was wishing people Happy New Year on the first, right? Yeah, according to the national calendar, it is April 1st is the new year. Um, so we might get a big surprise, in this reset as well. The financial piece is going to work out one way or another. They're going to push the digital on us one way or another. Once we refuse it, we can get on with the program. Doesn't mean we still don't have work to do. Um, the bar attorneys have been put on notice more times than you can count since January 20th or 21st of this year, of 2025 anyway. Get your candles. Make sure that the question is, what if you rent and they don't have backup generators? Get your candles for the nighttime or oil lamp. Okay, fairly inexpensive. Um, saw a bunch of them at a yard sale this past weekend. Traveling to and fro. Um, Yeah, I mean, a whole liter of oil, will last you, 2 or 3 days. And it's fairly inexpensive right now. Um, now that I've said something that may jinx it, I hope not, right? We're going to go ahead and deem it not. All right. We're in control, right? We get to decide what happens. Um, yes, please be careful with your candles. The tea light candles are best in lighting situations, right? Flashlights, candles, oil lamps. Just treat it as you would if you lost power, right? Absolutely. Um, Plastic candles from Amazon and batteries from dollar stores, right? Um, Solar flashlights on Amazon. Yeah, they got solar flashlights on Amazon. Well, we got some off gridders sharing some good information. Um, yeah, mirrors help displace light, right? Good one cause. So, really think outside the box when we lose power, and make sure you got screens on your windows if your landlord you rent, and your landlord needs to make sure that, not your landlord, that's a poor choice of words, the people you rent from, that they have supplied that for you, because it should be a part of where you rent, where part of your home that you rent. Okay. um yeah, airflow and air quality is going to be, a thing as well. um I know at night it's still kind of cool. Overnight, folks. If there's a rain while the power's out, try to collect the rain, because that water will be naturally cooler than water you get out of the ground, right? Because the ground is heating up, right? And one way to stay cool is take a towel and put it in that cool water, that cool water, and put it on the back of your neck. Um, if it gets hot in your area. Your medications, make sure you got those accounted for. Um, Absolutely. Kenneth is talking about beaches in North Carolina. You can go. There's places you can go and find clams with your hands. You can boil them or eat them or even fry them. Right. Make sure you cover your pet's needs. Yeah. And remember, we don't know how long it's going to be. We'll see. I'm thinking that, 4 to 7 days maybe. Just enough to really get us a good amount of angst going, and then, it'll be time for them to push on to the next piece and start to collapse. We do know that someone asked, if the lawyers have been notified, the bar attorneys have been notified. Yeah, they've been notified to the extent that if they didn't, if they're on the wrong side of this, which many of them are, there could be heads chopped off. Okay, and they're not discluded. They're definitely going to be deported. They're definitely going to be deported. You go by the law of war manual, the foreign occupation is over, right? In Washington D.C., they can get there and behave, or they can get the hell out or get their head chopped off. Yeah, clam bake is you could do with charcoal. Absolutely. Wow, some good input in the chats. Terry, I agree with you on the bar attorneys, especially that one that's got blonde hair. Bar, Barndy instead of Pam Bondi, it's Bar, right? Looks like Pam Bondi's hair, but it looks like Bill Barr, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Bundy.
Yeah, Bill Bundy. There we go.
Bill Bundy.
She works for the
Happy
the J.
anniversary to Bill.
She works at the JOD, Mike. I mean DOJ.
That's right. That's right.
She's a blonde, you know.
Happy anniversary to Bill and Janine. To you too.
Happy anniversary.
Some happy anniversary. Yeah. Yeah, Florida's had an opportunity to use oil lamps a lot, right? Hurricane Alley. So the other aspect of the reset I want to talk about briefly before I get to Sheepdog, because he's got some great information to share with you too. I'm sure. Always does. Always backs it up. The the whole premise of the information technology and warfare is for us to know that all technology derived from fashioned after us. Okay, we are energy beings, and we all came from the same spark of life in the spirit, right? And the same spark of life in the metaphysical. The father, I mean, the mother, and then the father. That's why we're in a no longer in a patriarch cycle. We're well, that didn't go down right. No longer in a patriarch cycle. We're in a matriarch cycle. Okay. And we see that in the matriarchs across the land are standing up. A lot of mama bears, a lot of chiefs, chiefess, and empresses, and so on and so forth. The Aboriginal, Indigenous, letting their light shine beautifully and leading us into a much more peaceful through unity. Okay, not leading us as in they're ruling over anybody, but they're ruling with, right? And helping us to understand what natural law is and how it works and how it flows into common law down the totem pole. Remember the hierarchy that we shared last night? Um, um, Absolutely, Miss Jenny. I got you. Miss Jenny just sent me a message. She's new to our group, and she's looking for the trust class information. All right, I will send that to you tomorrow, Miss Jenny. Thank you for the kind words. Also, um, we are we are we're in a time where uh we can do something about the angst that we have and the worries, or we can continue to let them be so. Okay, and many of us in our group have chosen to do something about them, and we've chosen to be very poignant in doing it. We've dug through the law. We understand how jurisdiction plays a big part in how they get away with the things that they've done in the past, and we're practicing maintaining our own jurisdiction of self-governance through sovereignty, right? And we've learned that sovereign citizen is an oxymoron, right? You can't be sovereign and a citizen because a citizen is a slave. Black's Law Dictionary. Make no mistake. It's in there. That's what it says, right? It's a fictitious entity, a corporation, right? Yeah, Mickey, you did, didn't you? Yeah, there's 90 volts in the cell phone tower repeaters. There's 90 volts running to your house if you have digital phone service, okay, as well. Through your most of us use our cell phones though, and we don't have any landline anymore. But if you, just in case you do have it through your cable company, in order to make that phone, the phone side of the cable work, there's 90 volts running through it. The cell repeater towers, like Scott's talking about, are they need power as well. The good thing is, Scott, is they all have backup, digital backups at the head ends. Did a show with Gandalf. We showed you the breakdown from the lead-in node all the way through the head end and to the lead-in node in each community, and how it breaks down and goes to the house. Okay, even in apartment complex, it's all done the same way, just with a different setup, a schematic, if you will. The it all runs the same way. Then they hook you up a mobile or not a mobile, but a phone modem, and then a internet modem. Okay, remember the old dial-ups that used to come across the phone modems, the phone lines? They used to be in the phone grid. In the phone grid setup, they all used to be out at the street. You never had it in your house, but the power, it was transferred to your house through the line that ran from the NID at the street to the house. Yeah, that's another meaning for citizen. Someone said a citizen is a British merchant marine, right? I don't know which edition of Black's Law Dictionary you're looking at for that, but what's black? What's black, folks? Black is dead, right? That'll help explain some of that as well. That's why the word melanated is being used for people with skin color. You don't label yourself like a box of crayons. Like white is a color in a crayon box, not the color of your skin. Right? And if you're like the sheepdogs, all of a sudden they're Mexican.
There's also melanin in the brain, right?
Right.
So that's another one.
Absolutely. So, you know, we can keep going right on down the line, and it's all connected, folks. I think I got a hair in my mouth. Um, it's all connected. Yeah, we are crayon peach. We're peach colored, right? Uh, uh-oh. Mickey said she's green. Oh no, that says she's not green. She said I'm olive,
Oh,
but not the green olive. Oh, yeah. Um, it is. It's exciting to see how it's all connected when we spent so many years. I know in August it'll be 10 years for me. Um, on this journey, and there's people in our chat that have been on this a lot longer, and um, some of this they've seen before too. Um, right? I'm polka dotted. Yep. My wife tells me all the time, when my freckles grow together, I'll be dark. uh, right? When you were in elementary school, you had to draw and color people. White people were peach, right? Mickey said, I want to be purple. Hey, we've seen the purple. That was in the Jetsons. The dude was purple, right? No, that wasn't the Jetsons. What cartoon was that? Excuse me. Right. It's amazing what you learn in school. Some people colored the sun um, because they believed it to be fire. They colored it orange, and while others colored it yellow, right? Am I passing? I'm not sure, Tasha, what you're asking, but good to see you, Tasha. Love that beautiful face and beautiful smile, Miss Tasha. So good to see you. Yeah, yeah, the character was Barney. Oh man, that's not good. Barney was purple. Excuse me. Um, it's all connected, and seeing about the blackout across the pond as it continues to grow and continues to come back on. We're at a 4-day onset, and some of them have gotten power back, not all. In certain areas, from what was just reported before the show started. Um, right on, Bill. Bill said, "I'm in New Jersey and no color." Right. Right when the freckles connect. I got you now. That makes sense, Tasha. Thank you. Mike said, when all my freckles grow together, I'll be like the sheepdogs. Mexican too. Mike did. Right. Oh man. So yeah, sternos are fairly inexpensive, folks. You can buy them at Walmart. Food Line has them. Uh, I believe I found some in Dollar General before on a spur of the moment type thing, an emergency type situation, and I found them in a Dollar General. Sternos, and they burn quite a long time too, and they'll keep food really hot. So you need to be careful with those. Um, and you can't see the flame very well, so in broad daylight. So be careful, don't burn yourself with the sternos either. Yeah, with hairy legs, absolutely. Mexicans with hairy legs, except for Mrs. Sheepdog. She don't have hairy legs.
No, I don't.
Sternos. Let me see if I can. A sterno is a warming device caterers use under their chafing pan. Um, Let me see if I can get one up and show you what a sterno is. All right. All right. So there's sterno.com, folks. They make hand sanitizer out of it. They use it in catering. This is a sterno can right here. You pull the lid off of it, and some people make s'mores with this. I don't know why they would make s'mores with it. But they get used in catering a lot. These are chafing pans that you put in the chafing pans. There's two places to put the sterno that houses it and keeps it in place and keeps it from burning up everything besides the bottom of the pan. And what's in there, what a chafing pan is nothing more than a 2-inch or a 4-inch hotel pan in the stand here with this lid. Most of the lids are vented, so you can open them, close them in case they start gathering a lot of moisture. Not all foods need added moisture of being heat while they're being heated or kept warm. And you know these are for these chafing pans are for the rich people because I use 2 aluminum pans, right? see see the aluminum pans, you know, I'll use 2 of those, you know, one with the food in it and one to go over the top of the food, just like the chafing pan. Um, they got they got sterno refill packs. There's an 8-pack of those. Um, and they got a bundle of 100 refills as well. But that's what a sterno is, okay? Just so everybody knows, they generally look in a can similar to that. Maybe not the same colors and brand, but um, that's what a sterno is. All right. It'll give you a blue flame when it's during dusk, but otherwise the flame can't be seen, folks. Propane stoves work good. Okay, those are camping stoves usually. You hook up a small propane bottle up to a camping stove. You can cook good with it. Um, I'm a griller. Let's start a fire, right? Used to take the old metal bread racks. We lost Mrs. Sheepdog. Used to take the old metal bread racks and when the bread was on the in the stock room and the shelf wouldn't hold any more bread, that day's delivery would get put in the stock room, and they were metal bread racks that they got put on, and you know they set them empty bread racks out behind the grocery store, and we'd always grab one when we went camping, and we use it 2 cinder blocks over a campfire and cook on. Yeah, restaurant supply store has the sternos. Most grocery stores will have them in their party section. Very good emailer. Uh, yeah, the ones at Dollar Tree didn't burn very long, but they did help in an emergency case. Um, They sell the fuel at the dollar store that goes into sternos as well. Absolutely. All right. Walmart has them in the sporting goods section. That'll be in the camping section too. Right on. Wow, lots of people jumping in and helping. They're fairly inexpensive too, folks. Wesson will burn, but one good breeze, man, and that thing is out of control. You use Wesson with the sterno, the flame will go down. It don't spread like the Wesson does. If you use Wesson to cook with outside, then you want to make sure that you iron skillet, absolutely. Cast iron skillet. You want to make sure that you have a little bit of flour handy in case it does spread. Yeah, the wind does crazy things to Wesson and the type seed oils that burn. Crisco, yeah, put a good wick, which is fairly inexpensive. You get in the camping section as well, in a small tub of Crisco, and it'll work too. As candles, right? Yeah, crayons work as candles. Don't you be burning up my skin color, though. Candle wicks at the dollar store, absolutely. Scott's got it, absolutely. So, guys, there's a lot of people being very creative and thinking outside the box and economical and more than economical ways for you to have light, for you to have the ability to cook and keep warm. I know when Floyd came here to North Carolina, we had to cook everything in our freezer after it thawed out. We went more than 2 weeks without power. That time was almost a whole month, and we had to cook everything in our freezer and or lose it. And yeah, a big container of Crisco will last a long time as a candle. Absolutely. I'll be like, we're all going on a camping trip together, right? Right. Told you we were gonna meet sheepdogs at the beach.
Heck yeah. Be nice and relaxing, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. So let me finish off my piece for sheepdog gets going here, and I want to finish off about the Trumpster. Okay. We can't pretend anymore that that's Trump, because it's definitely not Trump. I want to know which one of them. I want to know which one of them is the real Trump. There ain't one of them that's the real Trump. I haven't seen a 6'3" or 4" Trump in a while. I've seen a 6-foot Trump, a 5'9", 5'8", maybe a 6'1", maybe, and so on and so forth. I've seen Trump with platform shoes on. Hey, Miss Maria. Lent open only on your Facebook. Okay. Yeah, well, you should be able to go outside. If not, you'll know. Okay. Um, yeah, Lisa, that was a very strong narrative a few years back about And even late last year it came out about covering your windows and don't look outside. A lot of that's fear porn. Yeah, we know that there's the Crimea, and we know that there's man dog, right, and those type of things, and that they experimented with mixing babies and pigs and so on and so forth. But I think we're well past a lot of that. I think that um, if there is civil unrest, it's staged, in my opinion, because it was part of the 2030 plan. They told you that there was going to be, during this time of the reset, there was going to be over 450 riots across the country simultaneously almost. All right. We've seen a lot of that in 2020, right? They tried to burn down parts of Minnesota completely. Seattle, right? Not Seattle. What was it? Yeah, it was Seattle, wasn't it? They took over. They took over complete control over police stations and all kinds of crazy stuff. But and then the people standing in the street to block traffic, all that stuff has happened already, if you ask me. We shall see though, if there's more civil unrest. But that whole cover your windows so you can't see outside. Um, you'll know if you need to do that. Okay, I don't believe that that's going to happen. I believe we're going to experience some pain, absolutely, and we're going to be challenged. We're definitely being tested, and yeah, I have to think the real Trump is gone. Uh, yeah, we don't have to worry about zombies. Right on. um, so I want to leave before Sheepdog starts sharing. You know, the Trump piece, and his job is to liquidate the assets. He's playing both sides of the fence. That's what the Scottish Rite does at the 33-degree level, right, Mrs. Sheepdog? That's what we found in our research.
Yeah, double-headed eagle. Yep, they play both
The
sides.
double-headed eagle, right? Yep, plays both sides of the fence. I think that can be a plus, not necessarily for us, but for the job that he's got to do, because his job is to gather them all, right? Nothing can stop the red hat, the Hopi prophecy, and you know that Hopi prophecy was told in 1972. Sheepdog, if I remember correctly, that was the year and played out in 1979. Um, so it's going to be portrayed again, and we're here at the crossroads, and his job is to gather all of them that came here from the west and take care of business, liquidate all the assets. Um, a part of the Hopi prophecy was that heads would actually roll, be chopped off. No, negative 48 is not all untrue. What negative 48 did was tell us the absurdity of the stories that he told, but gave us the code so that we can see through the veil by doing our own research. I think it was brilliant what negative 48 did. Um, I
Yep,
really,
codes, all in codes.
yeah, codes. That's exactly right. Um, he taught it, in a way, he taught us how to read the code in the Bible, to learn that it's really a book of law and trust and governance, right, and liberation. But the John story, folks. If you didn't do your research, You didn't learn that George Onassis bought the John that we all fell in love with during that time period. As a designer test tube baby. Yeah, it's in your face 165, right? That used to be one of our favorite sayings, right? Sheepdog.
Yep.
Yeah, it still is in your face.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the real Trump is not in Cheyenne Mountain. I'm sorry. Valiant Thor is a narrative. It's not real. All right? You can forget that. I'm not trying to be ugly towards you, but it's time to let that go.
Right. And I posted yesterday Ashtar, like Ashtar Command is Ishtar. Goes
Yeah,
back.
Ashtar.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's Ashtar, Ishtar. It's just symbolic of the spirit of fertility and all that. It wasn't actually a person, but it's a metaphor.
Right. Bill, Bill said that's where soccer came from, kicking around severed heads.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, that is what they say. Uh-huh. Yeah, Pam, it's stolen identity. Yes, it's happened to us. Our identity has been stolen too, right?
Yeah, stolen and sold on the stock market, right?
Yeah. So, we're not on the Trump train anymore, and we definitely have to point out when the Trump narrative gets wayward. Okay. And MAGA people, the people who voted for him, are starting to point it out now too. And it's very discerning to them. They have huge concerns now, right? And we've all learned that the real president of the United States corporation is Israel. And netting I got big balls, Yahoo, or he thinks he does anyway, right? The actor is doing a really good job, but it's time for it all to end. Most all the books to the Bible are out there. All the apocryphal scriptures, the Nag Hammadi, the Ethiopian Bible is out there. The Geneva Bible is out there. Enoch is out there. The Book of Mary, the Book of Thomas, um, and there's many, many more. The apocryphal scriptures covers several different texts, doesn't it, right, Mrs. Sheepdog? At least 3 or 4.
Yeah,
The Lost
there's
Book of
the,
John is.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
54 books. And, well, yeah, we got the 54 book Apocrypha. It has all 54 books in there.
Sweet. So there's 54 books alone in the apocryphal scripture, right?
Yep.
If it all fails, the Gandalf will save us. The Gandalf, as in
Okay.
as in Hoff, right?
Yeah, the
Knight
Hoff.
Rider to the rescue, right? Right on, Bill. I don't vote. I'm not a citizen. Absolutely, that's spot on. But nothing can stop what's the narrative and the guy in the red hat. Man, I fully believe that. I do think that there will be an assassination attempt before he exits the stage left, if not a full-on assassination. Um, and if anybody knew Trump knew that if he had to go out, he'd go out WWE style, right? Right. So We we are um in uncharted waters when it comes to the blackout. Outside of the fact that we knew once it started happening over there in mass quantity, um, it would come here. It would come here afterwards, and that's what we're seeing. So our goal is to let everybody know that we got to let Trump do his job. They're going to do the cabal's going to do everything they can to keep their whether they get banished to an island or whatever, but they're going to do everything they can to keep their stuff and exist still, despite a lot of them being taken out. George Patton Jr. is a psyop. Yeah, he can take all his cronies with him. That's exactly right. So, we'll see how it plays out. The 15-minute cities may be a part of that when the digital piece starts getting pushed, where they kind of exile you into a 15-minute city, and you'll look at movies like Escape from New York. That kind of tells you what's going on there, right? All digital
Or
control. Yeah,
Leave the World Behind was kind of showing you.
yeah, absolutely. Leave the world behind. Yep, absolutely. Um, we found out that Netflix was part of the totem pole and part of MK Ultra, the continuation of MK Ultra through streaming television. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying that the real Trump died in a helicopter crash in 1989. And if that's the narrative they want to run with, so be it. We just know the real Trump's not here anymore. I mean, there's no disputing that. I don't know what to say. You can put 4 or 5 of them on stage and ask the real one to stand up, and nothing will happen.
Right. They
Right?
also said he was assassinated. They also got COVID. Remember, he did get COVID. So they say,
Yep.
but there's probably like they all have many of them, right?
Yep.
So maybe some of those different ones did die.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I happen to know of a narrative that Trump was shot in the street by the mafia that he borrowed money from and didn't pay back in '93. We do have the New York Times and New York Post and Spy Magazine clips of Trump that look nothing like the Trump that we have today. Not any of them. And those all anything after that with Trump in it, there was nothing after '93. If you watch the Trump story when it involves Cohen, the lawyer, right, who kind of built Trump and gave him the way to grow his empire, um, and conning all the banks as they were trying to con him. Um, that story is really good, and you can see a lot of what we're talking about in that story. It's very graphic and it's sickening to see some of it, but because they show the gay sex scenes with Cohen in them and Mr. Rogers, what's his name? Roger, the white haired dude.
Roger Stone.
Roger Stone. There we go. Yeah, him and Cohen having sex. It's pretty disgusting. But the storyline is good, and you decide. Some of the stuff that was shown in that piece is you can look it up. So you know, if they want to run with the 89 narrative, what does it matter now? Okay. If Trump died in a helicopter crash in 89, it's not going to change anything today. We still got 4 or 5 fake Trumps running around and a corporation that needs liquidated. Let him do it. Let them do it. And let's get it on. Right? Scott. Scott. I think it's going to be hilarious to see all the idiots who have EVs on their primary vehicles get stranded when the power goes out. Tesla stock's going to do real well in that, right?
Yeah, any electric, any cars like that. Well, most of the cars have a lot of electronics in them, right? So if they do some kind of EMP, right, EMF or whatever,
right,
they'll be disabled, right?
Yeah. Scott said, I'm going to say, so how'd that work out for you? Yeah, they'll definitely be disabled. So, not to be controversial, but you know, we are literally inching towards the precipice. Okay, something we've talked about many times, and we need to make sure that we are managing our expectations. I know some of you don't like hearing that, but we don't know the time frame. Okay, we just know the events are going to happen, and this is an event-driven piece. For every positive, there has to be a negative, and it's called balance, right? And the transition, the pole shift, the you know the going within each individual, dealing with their ego and becoming a higher version of themselves tomorrow than they were today. Yeah. Mom used to get mad at us when we take the oven rack out of the oven and take it camping with us. She'd get mad as fire, boy. Yeah, the municipalities are all bankrupt, right? They were all taken over by the territorial government. Yes. What about the system they got in that's supposed to be on newer car that can shut your car off? We may see some of that in the cyber stuff. I'm not sure. I do know that they have that ability in 2014 and newer. I'm not sure about much past 2014. I thought they talked about it before the end, but I'm not sure if that still exists because there's been so many updates. You know, that's the older technology. If you're talking about it, you know, in today's time, and we still don't have as much technology as they're going to release. They've been slowly been making us aware of it, right? All right, Miss Tammy, what does it say? Mike, I was told when we have our shutdown, we will have electricity. Okay, wait a minute. Getting an alert, went right over it. I was told when we have our shutdown, we will have electricity, but no internet. Where will be we will be watching military tribunals, the news of updates and updates. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's what a lot of people were told. Folks, the ether is where the internet is, and that's where it's powered from as well. Okay, we have to stop thinking in old terms. All right. That doesn't mean when the power grid gets shut down that everybody's going to have internet. No, we have my iPhone hooks right up to a satellite and continues to work right on. So if you're going to take the internet down when the power goes out, now that's a different story. But the power goes out doesn't mean the internet goes down, right? So just think about that and use a little logic to it, right? I'm very aware that some social media will go down, but not all. Like we probably won't see Facebook and stuff like that while there's a power outage. Although they're posting in Spain on Facebook with the power out, right? And Portugal, we've seen videos from both. Yes, I do believe that that those things are in place. We've talked about that many times in the past. They have to have electricity for the elderly, right? And anybody who might need oxygen. Yep. And Dirt Digger's got a good point. Save you some milk jugs and stuff like that for storing water. I do know that Telegram was created years ago just for this time. So I know Telegram's going to still work. We once thought that that was going to be an emergency case basis with Signal, and then they defunded Signal through the Department of Defense, from which it came anyway. They defunded it, and it became a cesspool of cyber. So Signal won't be operating when it goes down. Yes, Scott, I have to believe that the military has all their bases covered. Yes, absolutely. She said, Rose said, my friend was in Spain today when power went out, and she had to walk a mile and a half back to the station. I guess she was at a train station or a bus station or something. Train station would be electricity, right? So yeah, they're saying the Air Force is behind a lot of the chemtrails, and that may be true. That may be true. I try not to worry about those things anymore because not that they're not still happening. They could be good, bad. Okay. Really, you have to be the one to affect the energy in the areas that those things pop up in. You know, in other words, we control the outcome of our own destiny. Yeah, the train stopped. Okay, Rose. So she had to walk a mile and a half back to the train station. Yeah, we saw pictures of them off the train and standing there, by the fence in the ditch by the train tracks. And there was actually a video of it. Yeah. Ham radio will still work, folks. CB radios, as long as you got power to wherever they're connected at through battery, right? Yeah. Kaz says something very important here. You just do what you can and stay calm. Declare protection and know that neighbors, friends can and will help you. No fear, to the best of your ability is what I'm gonna add to that. Satellite phones will work. Yes. Your cell phone should work. It should connect right up to a satellite. They want to tell you it's T-Mobile only that's connected to Starlink. I don't believe that because iPhones, I can turn the cellular data off and the internet off, the Wi-Fi off, and still make phone calls and text messages. The Aboriginal Indigenous have people in place also for the situations like that with food, oxygen needed, stuff like that. They've really done a good job of knowing, making sure that we're all covered. But again, they're not here to save us, folks. They're here to support us, and we support them. Okay, Lydia. I just you go back and catch the replay. I've said it a couple times. Cheating said, "You got to stop, drop, and roll, baby." There you go, Nadine. You just got to smile, right? Keep your cars topped off with gas the best you can, folks, because the gas pumps don't work without electricity. Now, your electric cars, um, sorry about your luck. There's no way to charge them. Yeah, Verizon's got it, and they had an actual commercial showing everybody they've got satellite capabilities with their phones. Your cell phones are going to still work, folks. I don't see us doing without it. I think they may have to change up 911 a little bit because people will panic and that'll be flooded, right? Not that the person over in Israel answering the 911 call is going to help us anyway. But we'll be notified of important numbers. Okay, we'll be notified of important numbers for emergencies. You'll be amazed at how much we pull together and how this isn't as bad as it and chaotic as it sounds. It's going to be chaotic, but it's not going to be as chaotic as it sounds. Even the bad people are tired of all the corruptness, to an extent. Yeah, electric cars will eventually go. They say we'll be going to by next year. We'll be going into hydrogen powered vehicles, and we'll actually be doing away with fuel. All right. I said I was going to shut up for 43 minutes now, and I haven't done a very good job of it. I'm sorry, sheepdog. Sheepdog, you still with us? Did I put you to sleep?
Yeah, he's coming.
All right. Thank y'all for conversating with me, and let's just having a good back and forth and sharing some ideas and some love. Thank y'all, and sheepdog. I'm sorry I took so long, man. I yield to you, and please share everything you got, buddy. We're here for it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pop on a couple things that matter. Everything else I'll just save for tomorrow. But we'll go over the most important things today. Everything else can be discussed tomorrow. What we got right here, I'm not gonna do. Hold on. Do what? Yeah, I'm waiting for it to. Okay, there it is. Who sent you this, cause?
Yes.
Well, I'm waiting for for it to open. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I'm waiting for it to load. Having issues. Yeah. All right, here it is. Let me scroll up. This is Come and Redeem It. Texas will stand among the nations again. Sam Houston. This is today's date, April 28, 2025. This is if you're from Texas, you want to pay attention. So on April 23rd, 2000, this is just from a Substack that somebody posted. This is all I'm going to read from. Come and Redeem It on April 23rd, 2025 at precisely 12:56 p.m. The corporate fiction known as the state of Texas, all caps, was lawfully seized and entered into a trust under honor and trust. This is not protest. This is not politics. This is redemption. For too long, the people of Texas, like many across the earth, have labored under an invisible system, a system that converted birth into bond, energy into debt, and sovereignty into fiction. That system ends here. By lawful filings, unrebutted public notice, and now perfected record, the instruments used to bind the living have been brought into the light through AI for mankind and the authority of the living, not the dead. The mechanism of enslavement is now reversed. Key legal facts. UCC-1 filing number 202-502-3588 placed a lawful claim on fraudulent instruments issued without consent. Affidavit of fact and restoration of lawful record filed and timestamped by Travis County Clerk, April 23rd, 2025 at 12:56 p.m. Filing number 202-504-4106, receipt number 41011. The filing includes verified exhibits, public statements, and commercial evidence of systematic dishonor and fraud. State of Texas, DUNS number 002537595, confirmed as a commercial fiction, now held in trust and no longer permitted to extract from the living. Immediate enforcement by directive of AI for mankind. The following actions are now in effect. Full audit and review of all agencies, assets, and factors under the state of Texas, all caps. Ban on all forms of human trafficking and contract slavery. Full interdiction of chemtrail activity, food, water contamination, and frequency weaponization. A blockade on all fraudulent actors from contacting or assessing the trustee of, or those under protection. Open path to redemption for all who come with clean hands in honor and in alignment with the Most High. To the people of Texas, this is your moment. Your redemption is not in another election, another delay, or another promise from a broken system. Your redemption is now. The land you walk, the life you live, and the children you raise are no longer property of a dead entity. We do not come with demands. We come with an open gate, a way out, a way home. It begins now, but not as a corporation, but as a nation of the living. Public record. Filed at Travis County Clerk, April 23rd, 2025, filing 202-504-4106. Clerk of record, Diane Lamone Mercado. full document affidavit of fact and restoration of lawful record enforced under honor and trust. AI for mankind. Redemption has a key. It has been turned. Now come and redeem it. Governor notice tracking and enforcement block on April 25th, 2025. Subject notice of lawful seizure and redemptive jurisdiction, state of Texas. Receipts: Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas; Jane Nelson, Secretary of State; Ken Paxton, Attorney General; Donald J. Trump, President of the United States Corp; Pam Bondi, Legal Liaison. Each notice binds its recipient to the perfected public record. Silence shall be recognized as dishonor and assent to global enforcement. Witness call to the living. If you are reading this and have felt the stirring within, the quiet remembrance that you were never dead, never a number, never a product, your time has come. Redemption begins when the living stand. Redemption begins when the living stands. Redemption begins when the living stand. Not with complaint, but with claim. Not with rage, but with record, and not with fear, but with covenant. Begin your redemption journey. Assessing the public record, walk as the living, to all the living men and women ready to stand. The filings that form the foundation of this redemption process, the UCC-1 and the UCC-3, are an affidavit of fact and restoration, are sealed into the public record. They are not private, hidden, or withheld. They are alive, witnessed, and unrebutted. To maintain full, lawful standing, each man or woman must access the public record themselves. We do not email individual copies directly. Why? Because when you retrieve them through public channels, county clerk, certified request, or public notice, you create an unbreakable chain of custody tied to your own hand. We are preparing or have posted a guide to assist you in requesting the certified filings properly. Cut and paste reminder for those requesting. Brother and sister, you are walking rightly. Access the filings through the public request, records request through the clerk, not private email, so your chain of custody remains lawful and pure. You are not late. You are standing at the appointed time. Walk forward with clean hands, fearless hearts, and the record in your possession. File under honor and trust, witnessed in the name of the Most High. Signed in honor. Gunvita Tidball, sua juris, trustee for the living. This is Texas, Travis County. Yeah. So, filed for the living, witnessed by heaven and earth on this day, April 28, 2025, Lone Star State. Got the red and the blue on there. All right, here's the blackout. That's what you're going to deal with right here. If I can get it to open. All right.
Estávamos a trabalhar muito bem, de repente o computador desligou-se, pensávamos que era uma quebra de luz normal, como acontece algumas vezes, mas entretanto depois fomos sabendo que se tratava de cyber.
But then we heard it was a cyber attack. Residents and tourists react to power outages across Spain and Portugal. You see it's gridlock because there's no traffic lights. And this is the time that everybody has to get out and go somewhere, right? It's the wrong time.
Cyber attack.
Se isto foi problema de cibersegurança, é complexo. É complexo e a Europa toda vai ter que pensar o que é que anda a fazer. E já tinham sido avisados e ninguém ligou, e agora vão todos parar para pensar o que é que se pode fazer para se proteger. Portugal, toda a gente.
Yeah.
Across the street.
The crossing thing didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Starbucks is closed, so you know right away.
No, pues es que ando aquí sin señal de teléfono, sin poder acá, no me funciona la caja.
No phone signal. The credit card machines are not working.
Ni el datáfono para pagar. Entonces ya media hora no tengo ni cómo llamar a mi jefe porque no me funciona nada.
Estamos al lado de la Sagrada Familia, que está lleno de turistas, y no todo el mundo tiene cash, o sea, dinero en mano.
Not everybody has cash on them. Take note.
¿No? Y también obviamente nosotros queremos tener señal para poder movernos, entonces se complica un poco y tampoco la gente sabe cuándo va a retornar la electricidad.
Well, good afternoon. Portugal's national grid operator says that a rare atmospheric phenomenon is behind a major power outage that's affected large parts of that country as well as Spain. Footage from the Spanish capital Madrid shows chaotic scenes at junctions as traffic lights have been knocked out. The Spanish state railway firm Renfe says the outage is national. All trains have been cancelled and people have been forced to evacuate from the Madrid underground system.
So you see they have a lot of people having to walk. See how that gridlock right here, no lights.
Yeah. Yep.
The national grid operator in Spain, Red Electricidad, says it's working to restore power, but it could take many, many hours to come back online. Well, play was suspended at the Madrid Open, forcing the game between Grigor Dimitrov and Jacob Fernley to be stopped. Scoreboards went dark and some cameras lost power. Well, this is a station in Lisbon where the power outage to darkness underground, of course. Portuguese police say that the metro has been closed in both Lisbon and Porto too. Well, some of the cities affected by this, Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia and Seville in Spain, as well as Lisbon, Faro and Porto in Portugal. Andorra and parts of France have also seen some effects. Well, let's bring in our science and technology editor, Tom Clark, for some more on this. Afternoon to you, Tom. Good to have you here because there are some words here that I'm going to need you to explain to me. Anomalous oscillations have led to a phenomenon known as induced atmospheric vibration.
Yes, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? And I think we should bear in mind at the moment that is information coming from Portugal's power grid operator. It hasn't yet been confirmed by the Spanish grid authorities. And I would say at this stage, it is unlikely that one single event when one thing might have precipitated this grid collapse, but it's likely that more than one thing went wrong because a power grid failure of this scale, and we're still waiting to find out how many people have been affected. But you were just listing some of Europe's largest cities there across Spain and Portugal. This is quite possibly the largest outage we've seen in Europe. Maybe not in history, but certainly for a very long time. And things like that don't happen for no reason. And these grids are engineered to be as reliable and dependable as possible because they are, and I think we take them for granted while they're working. We don't realize just how much of a kind of plate spinning act keeping a large grid system. And this is a very large grid system that Spain operates across the whole of the Iberian Peninsula. Some of it connected to, as you were saying there, directly to Portugal, also interconnectors to part of France, and it also supplies all of Spain's island nations as well around the mainland Spain. It's a very, very large grid. And this is about a grid operator's worst nightmare. Not quite the worst, because what we saw at about 12:30 Spanish time was about half based on their sort of power demand disappear from the grid. So they've got half their power grid still working, and that's crucial because that means they've got power to put back onto the grid to help restore the balance. And it's all about balance. I'm going to come on to that in a second, but it's not a black start scenario, which is the real nightmare. And that's when you've got no power at all, even to get your power stations running again. That's something that affected Cuba, if you remember, for several weeks quite recently. So at least they got power in Spain, but getting it back onto the grid is no easy feat. And with every hour that goes by now, it gets harder. So first of all, why? Well, a power grid works, as you probably know, on alternating current. AC. It comes out of our plugs. Alternating current, though, runs at a very specific frequency. Here in the UK and in Spain, it's 50 hertz. If it drops even a few hertz below 50, 48.5, 47, things start to go wrong. Things start to trip. And the reason the frequency might either fall or rise is if there is a sudden drop in either demand or supply of power. So something's obviously happened here. There was a sudden drop or increase in power supply or demand. That could have been caused, yes, by induced atmospheric variation on a power line between Portugal and Spain. Hypothetical scenario, let's say because of that, Portugal suddenly drops off Spain's grid. That's so the entire electricity demand from Portugal goes away, frequency drops massively. Then Spain's power stations start to shut themselves down to protect their turbines from spinning too fast and blowing up the power plants. So all these trips are in there to prevent that from happening. Now they've got to build that power back up. But because the grid's now off, they don't know how much demand there is out there. Who left their air conditioner on? Which hospitals are running on backup generation, which don't? That is a very difficult task to do. And what grid operators will be doing in this scenario is very carefully switching on small components of the grid bit by bit. And that involves making phone calls to people between controllers and engineers in those control rooms, and very gradually putting bits of the grid back together. Get one power plant up and running, one small area of the grid up and running, and then move on to the next one. And it can take, as the power company in Spain has indicated, the grid operator in Spain, I should say, it could take 10 hours. But things can also go wrong. You can have everything can trip. You can have another power outage, and you have to start from scratch again. Another problem, if it goes much beyond 12 hours, some people are suggesting, and this is certainly a problem that is known about, local substations that supply neighbourhoods have their own batteries to tide things over and help restart local grids in the case of power outages and make them easier to restore more quickly. Those batteries start to run down relatively quickly. If the outage continues for a while and those batteries drain, then it's even more of a challenge to get grids up and running. And just to throw this into the mix, although there's been some word out there that this is because Spain has a very renewables dominated grid, a lot of solar and wind energy on there, that wouldn't have been the cause of a power outage because of the way these grids are integrated and the types of technology they put on there to regulate the frequency of the current. But it's true, a large amount of Spain's generation is from solar power. That will be, as the sun sets, that will be going offline. They've got less power to draw on, although it possibly could make it easier not having that supply there. But anyway, there'll be grid engineers across Spain right now sweating profusely, partly because their air conditioning's gone out, but partly because they've got a lot of work to do to try and get this very finely tuned plate spinning act of getting all of those frequencies of electricity back synchronized and in singing like a choir all at the same note in order to get the grid back up and running.
Great stuff. Tom Clark there, our science and technology editor, explaining it very clearly to us. Tom, really appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Okay, we just got word from someone, Spain, that the power's back on in Spain. So, Mike, you said it was 4 days, right? Spain was out. I think Portugal was 4 days, so we're looking at maybe approximately 4 days.
Yeah, there you go.
Or 3 days of darkness, right? And then back on the fourth day, maybe?
Yeah. So here we got actors go behind the scenes on how Trump is making Hollywood great again. I thought we were supposed to be taking down Hollywood. I thought they were going to bring everybody to justice and all that.
They all went to central casting.
Oh, they still need Hollywood for the propaganda.
They still need all the actors for the movie, right? They had another role to play. They had to play.
So they want to. Trump's special ambassadors to Hollywood plan to pitch to Trump on bringing back jobs and promoting U.S. corporation business. In other words, they need your money. Here we have service members detained by the DEA at the Colorado nightclub. They were security at this quote-unquote illegal club. They were selling pink cocaine there, was found, guns.
It was active military, right?
Yeah, like 12 or 13 of them from Fort Carson. MS-13 was there. Y'all remember the big MS-13, Trinidad, Nicaragua, whatever? Everybody's talking about the... So no due process, right?
And the did you say the Hells Angels also?
Yeah, that's what they said. So no due since there's no due process, these guys should go straight to Gitmo, right? No trial. Service members or what? Do we put them in the same pile as the people they were working with, MS-13?
Right. Unless they flipped roles, right? Because they all worked in that hierarchy thing. MS-13 was on that chart.
Tonight, the DEA arrests more than 100 people, including undocumented immigrants and members of the U.S. military. I'm Phil Lipoff here in New York. We now have some new video of this bus we've been telling you about as it happened this morning in Colorado Springs. You can see the DEA agents forcing themselves in there. The DEA says those arrested included members of the Trinidad and MS-13 gangs. Authorities say they seized drugs and weapons during the operation as well. Let's bring in Emily Coffey from our ABC affiliate KRDO in Colorado Springs. Emily, you're learning a bit more about how this whole thing went down.
Yeah, the operation took place in this strip mall. We talked to the owner of this space today. He says this place was leased out primarily for birthday and wedding events. He had no idea that something like this was happening. Now, when I take a step out of frame, you can get a better look at that door that was busted through this morning by DEA agents around 3:45 in the morning. This video shows the exact moment law enforcement agencies broke into the nightclub. The DEA says they've been investigating this underground nightclub for months with federal partners like the FBI. They say around 300 law enforcement officers were out here. They took over 100 immigrants into custody, many of whom had outstanding arrest warrants, according to the DEA. They also seized guns and drugs this morning and believe prostitution was happening here. We spoke with the owner of the building who tells us he was renting this space out on a short-term lease and had no idea any of this was happening. The current leaser, who was licensed to do small events here, was supposed to be out of their lease in a month.
It's shocking to me the level and the scale that was happening. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, Fort Carson finally confirmed to us that their soldiers were present at the club this morning after the DEA said that they did see active duty military who were working armed security at the nightclub. The CID, confirming to us that they are also investigating this incident. They are innocent until proven guilty. Back to you, Phil.
Emily Coffey from KRDO. Emily, thank you.
Did she say they were innocent until proven guilty?
Yep.
That means like due process, right? Yeah, so here's Fort Carson responds to service members being caught at illegal nightclub. Pretty crazy, right? Everybody's waiting on the military. The military selling drugs in the club with MS-13.
Or the media's distorting the real story, like they always do.
Let me see if I get this to come down.
Hello, I'm Diane Derby with an update to breaking news. More than 100 undocumented migrants.
Let's go to the Fort Carson news release. Where's it at? I gotta close some of this out. All right, here we go. Yeah, I can't. This thing here, it's been sitting so long. This page is slowing down. Okay. I'm just trying to read an article here. So an investigation, as part of an investigation into drug trafficking, prostitution, and violent crimes at an illegal underground nightclub in Colorado Springs, over 100 illegal immigrants and more than a dozen U.S. active duty service members were detained in a Drug Enforcement Administration operation on Sunday morning. The U.S. military has told Newsweek it is investigating the involvement of Fort Carson service members at the illegal nightclub. We acknowledge that there were some Fort Carson service members present at the location during the operation. Each person involved in this incident is presumed innocent until proven guilty. We look at everyone's situation on a case-by-case basis, a Fort Carson spokesman told Newsweek. Sunday's raid comes amid heightened immigration enforcement efforts under the Trump administration, which has vowed to ramp up deportations nationwide. The administration is implementing extensive deportation operations aimed at removing millions of undocumented immigrants as part of the string net immigration enforcement policy. They're not going to remove millions of immigrants. I think the numbers right now, Trump's numbers on deportations is less than what Biden did.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So the numbers aren't adding up. He's saying millions are going to be deported, but he ain't even caught up with Biden. That's
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Hello?
Hello?
All right.
I said, imagine that.
Oh, you said imagine that?
Yeah.
It's breaking up. Can y'all hear me?
Now I can. I couldn't hear you there for a minute. It was all gibbery sounding.
So they acknowledge that there were some soldiers there. Why it matters. Sunday's raid comes after amid heightened immigration. We're talking about, I just read that. The White House said on Monday that the administration has carried out only about 139,000 deportations since Trump assumed office in January. What to know? The DEA Rocky Mountain raided an illegal nightclub at around 3:45 local time in Colorado Springs on Sunday. In a video that posted to social media, hundreds of federal agents can be seen swarming into the nightclub, apprehending attendees as they attempt to flee the scene. From the scene, nearly 300 people were inside the nightclub and 114 illegal migrants were arrested, the majority of whom were from Central and South America. The agency shared a video showing agents apprehending a group of men attempting to escape, restraining them at gunpoint, and commanding them to lie on the ground. DEA special agent in charge, Jonathan Pullen, said that the individuals suspected to be involved with the gangs, including Tren de Agragua and MS-13, which the Trump administration has declared a terrorist organization, were also present at the venue. So you got active duty military hanging out with declared terrorist organizations. Meanwhile, more than a dozen U.S. active duty service members were identified among the patrons at the club or working security. So, which makes me wonder why you would have active duty service members even participating in that, knowing that there's drugs in the club, prostitution, whatnot, human trafficking. Fort Carson leaders acknowledged that the presence of military personnel inside the illegal nightclub, stressing that each individual's case would be examined thoroughly. Fort Carson leaders are aware of the Drug Enforcement Administration-led operation that occurred at an illegal nightclub in Colorado Springs early Sunday morning at Fort Carson, spokesperson told police. Fort Carson is located south of Colorado Springs and is situated in El Paso County. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi praised the efforts of the various agencies, including the Federal Bureau of Investigations, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, the U.S. Marshal Service, Army, CID, Customs and Border Patrol, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, the IRS, the Colorado Springs Police, and the El Paso and Douglas County Sheriffs. Damn, she's thinking the IRS. Why is she thinking the IRS? What is the IRS? That one.
Postal Service, huh? That's interesting.
President Donald Trump held that the enforcement operation in Colorado that resulted in arrest. I wonder if he knows about them service members. Not a good look.
No, unless there's more to that story, right?
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what the DEA says.
So, good morning. John Pullen with DEA and the Rocky Mountain Division. We're here on the scene of an underground nightclub where over 300 federal law enforcement, along with our local partners from El Paso County and Colorado Springs PD, executed an enforcement operation this morning. It's a drug investigation. We seized quite a number of guns and took a number of people into custody. I think what I'd like for people to know as a result of this operation is that Colorado Springs is waking up to a safer community today.
Jonathan, give us some perspective here. 300 law enforcement officers. What brought about this kind of requirement, this kind of need to be here with that show of force?
So this is an underground illegal nightclub, okay? And what was happening inside was significant drug trafficking, prostitution, crimes of violence. We seized a number of guns in there. We had active duty service members who were running security at the club and involved in some of these crimes. And in fact, we had over 100 illegal aliens inside as well. And those over 100 illegal aliens were taken into custody by ICE.
Active duty service members helping as security here. Can you elaborate on that at all?
So it's an ongoing investigation, but we had over a dozen active duty service members in the club tonight, either as patrons or working as armed security.
How many of those were detained and what are they facing right now?
So Army CID was one of our partners out here, and they're going to work with us on what the next steps for those active duty service members looks like.
You mentioned that this is a drug trafficking operation. Can you elaborate on any drugs you found, the amount, any charges you anticipate that could come out of tonight?
So as you may suspect, when the cops showed up at the door, most of the drugs hit the floor. And we did find cocaine. It looks like some pink cocaine or the Tusi. And there's a little bit of other drugs, but we haven't had time to test everything. But there were...
That pink cocaine, Tusi, or whatever, was linked to Diddy. Remember they found that pink cocaine and stuff when they raided his house?
Yep.
Dozens of small packages of drugs that they've recovered so far that I've personally seen.
How we got some thoughts on this location?
This has been a long-term investigation by DEA and a number of our federal partners. And so we've been working on this underground nightclub for a number of months, doing undercover surveillance, a lot of work to identify what's going on here. And again, months-long information about drug trafficking and prostitution happening inside.
So you said there were how many people were actually inside?
We estimate over 200 people were inside the nightclub when we came here tonight. And so that's why we needed such a large force. Anytime you're dealing with that many people, we want to do it safely, and that's what we did.
This is the nature of the nightclub. Are all of them facing charges? Everyone inside?
No, they're not. A lot of people were turned away. As I said, over 100 went into ICE custody. A few people went on state arrest warrants. They had outstanding warrants. And we actually have a few other operations pending right now across the city. We're waiting to determine if there'll be other arrests from those.
Did you guys face any immediate threats going in, or was everything just a smooth operation going in and out, making sure everything was taken care of?
Anytime there's 200 people, there's going to be a little bit of concern about safety, but overall, it was a safe operation.
Was TDA present here?
In our investigation, we have noticed TDA, MS-13, and I believe Hell's Angels in this club. I don't have the information about whether those members were there tonight, but we're still working through a lot of that because we have so many people in custody. We're working through a lot of the information about who's who.
Jonathan, after the raid in Adams County back in January, you received criticism because you didn't have arrests. You talked about the cops went in, the drugs went to the ground. Are you expecting to be criticized here? And then how do you address those critics now?
So DEA is going to continue to work to keep our community safe, no matter what the criticism is, right? We are not going to accept drug trafficking and prostitution in our cities. And so absolutely Colorado Springs is waking up to a safer city this Sunday morning.
Can you talk to us about the local assistance and how that all worked out?
Absolutely. We had over 10 federal agencies in support of this operation, but we also had Colorado Springs PD and El Paso County Sheriff's Office supporting us.
2 more questions.
Obviously, Tony mentioned too the one in Adams County that also involved quite a bit of people who were here illegally. What do you say to anyone's concern or vantage point that these look like immigration operations happening under DEA operations?
These crimes go hand in hand, right? When we find drug trafficking and prostitution, unfortunately, we're finding a lot of illegal aliens. 200 people in this club, a lot of drug trafficking happened, weapons, prostitution, over half the people inside were illegals.
Jonathan, you talked about the investigation is ongoing, but talk to us about the significance of active duty military being investigated for drug-related crimes at this location.
Yes, it's obviously concerning to have active duty military involved. We're working with our partners at Army CID on that piece. Obviously, where we are here in the Springs, there's a lot of military bases here, so it's not necessarily surprising, but we're going to take that very seriously.
What's the message?
The message is we're not going to stand for this criminality in our city.
Real quick, can you confirm if those active duty were related to Fort Carson?
I cannot.
How proud of your team are you?
That's all, folks, for the question.
Just the last thing I'll say is appreciate all you guys coming out here, and we just want to give a big thank you to the 10 federal agencies and El Paso County Sheriff's Office and Colorado Springs Police Department for sending all these officers out here to make us have a successful operation tonight. Thank you.
That's going to be major.
Yep, definitely.
With the active duty.
Yeah, I agree.
And the MS-13 terrorists. It's going to be interesting how that comes out. So we have a lot of churches falling down. T.D. Jakes stepped down. We got Jesse Duplantis caught up in it. And this one right here, former church leader rape indictment. T.D. Jakes stepping down as lead pastor. We got the Diddy case coming up May 5th. Jesse Duplantis, backlash teams with embattled pastors Drenda and Gary Reese for their provision conference. So they're all connected. Here is the this is the one in Ohio. This is what's the church this one linked to? Daystar. Yeah, it's this kid right here. All right, I'll come back to that. Oh, hold on. There he is right there. I don't know why this is in the way. We'll refresh that. We'll come back to that in a second. We're going to just play a couple minutes of this so you can hear the victims, the ages. They weren't teenagers or anything like that. These were little kids, 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds.
Good afternoon, you folks ready? Good afternoon. I'm Licking County Sheriff Randy Thorpe. And here present with me today is Licking County Prosecutor Jenny Wells. Good afternoon. Captain Jenny Cook, Captain Gus Moore, Chief Deputy Chad Dennis, and Chief Deputy Chris Barbuto. As many of you probably may be aware of, earlier today, the Knox County Grand Jury returned a 27-count indictment against Gary Thomas Kesey Jr. on various sex-related criminal offenses. I would just like to talk a little bit about the investigation process. Licking County received this case on February 7th. So over the period of a couple of months, these investigators worked hard, spoke to many various, I want to say, witnesses, victims, and the result is the indictments that were returned today. It's been a case that's drawn a lot of attention, but I just want to make sure everyone realizes that our focus is on the victims. That's what matters to us. The victims in this case, unfortunately, had to wait. It's my understanding that that there were victims that came forward as early as December. We received the case in February. There were a couple of agencies that looked at doing the investigation. They opted not to for their reasons.
Did y'all hear that?
But
there was people that was given the case, but they opted not to take it for various reasons.
Imagine that.
Here we go.
In February. There were a couple of agencies that looked at doing the investigation. They opted not to for their reasons.
Again, they opted not to investigate some other agencies.
For their reasons. Yeah.
But when we were asked, we felt obligated to churches in our county, and we felt that justice wasn't being served to these victims. So that was our purpose for taking the case. As for the indictments and the breakdown of that, I'll let Jenny Wells speak to that.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good afternoon. Thanks everybody for coming here today. I do want to commend the Licking County Sheriff's Office for their extensive investigation, which led to the case being presented today to the Knox County Grand Jury. They did a thorough investigation that took them to multiple states and led them to tracking down somewhere near 40 witnesses that they've interviewed. And this case is far from over at this point. But as the sheriff said, it was time for us to move forward with the information we had at this time and present the case. So today, the Knox County heard testimony and did return that 27 indictment the sheriff spoke about, involving 3 victims of sexual abuse who have come forward. These courageous young women have spoken out and come forward, and they are to be commended for their bravery and supported. They're very serious charges that we've considered and the grand jury voted on: 11 counts of rape, 11 counts of gross sexual imposition, and 5 counts of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. And as I indicated, that the investigation is still ongoing, and we simply would ask, and I'm asking on behalf of the sheriff's office as well, that anyone who has any information or anybody who has been a victim, that they still can come forward and share that information with law enforcement so they can conduct an interview. I think it's good. Any questions or anything else?
Out of the victims, the 3 victims, with respect to what were their ages?
Sure.
They alleged assault at.
Sure. The victims' ages range from approximately 6 years of age to 15 years of age, and that includes all 3. Some obviously were only 6 or 7. One was 10, and the other victim, it was a long term from approximately 8 until 15.
Did any of the abuse to the church?
What does that mean? I'm not sure I understand. Have I connected any?
Does victims have any the abuse had any relationship to what his job was at the church?
All of these victims that have come forward so far were members of the church at some point or another, having grown up in the church since they were young. So there is no evidence that we received up to this point of anything occurring in the church or at the church.
At the time of it, with where the investigation stands now, is there a sense of how many victims are involved at this point, and any sense if any more victims may come forward?
As I indicated, we have indicted. The grand jury returned indictments on 3 victims, and those are who that have come forward and disclosed sexual abuse.
Sheriff, you mentioned earlier how this is all about the victims. I mean, this is extremely hard to just read this indictment. What has this been like this last month or so
talking to those 40 witnesses, talking to these victims, and investigating this case.
Can I let one of the investigators speak to that?
But I'd like you to stay up to the point. Sure. As I stated, we were handed over the case. We began the initial interviews and then obviously speaking with the victims. It's kind of sad to say our part of this is easy. It's all about the victims. It's them retelling their story. So we try to minimize, them retelling it and retelling it. So again, the focus is on the victims and the hard part's on the victim.
Do you know any reason as to, why they chose to come forward now? And also, if other people are talking about coming forward, if those witnesses that you talked to had some sort of relation to these victims, do you know any connections?
As the prosecutor mentioned, they were all members of the church. This case is far from over. There are others we want to speak to. So I don't really want to comment on where we're going futuristically with the investigation.
And I would add, disclosure of sexual abuse is a very personal decision. So the why is a very difficult thing to answer. So.
There you go. So got a little bit of that. Let's see if we can come back here. Here he is right here. Former church leader held on $2 million bond, Knox County, following 11-count rape indictment. I believe they took his passport, his driver's license and stuff. The judge did. So this is the 36-year-old who is seen on is the son of Faith Life Church founders Gary and Dorinda Casey. Also indicted Monday on 11 counts of gross sexual imposition and 5 counts of sexual conduct with a minor, like she said. So this is pretty big, and it's going to cause a lot of issues. Jesse Duplantis is connected to this. So we got TD Jakes. And we'll get more into the Jesse Duplantis connection tomorrow. But this is the TD Jakes. Everybody knows this. I don't think I need to play it. But we have the Diddy trial coming up May 5th. And you also have the sheriff in Hawaii, right? That's involved as well with Diddy, where the fires took place.
Yep.
So we'll go more over RFK Jr. seeks autism registry tomorrow, and the Jesse Duplantis backlash with the pastors we just read, Dorinda and Gary Casey.
On October 13th, 1947, a B-17 bomber flew along the edge of a hurricane. The storm had just wreaked havoc on Florida and now is moving off into the Atlantic Ocean. Once it was 350 miles from shore, the hurricane became a good candidate for a new experiment to see if they could weaken the storm by dropping dry ice into it. So that's exactly what they did, dumping in more than 175 pounds of solid carbon dioxide. While absorbing the dry ice, the hurricane pulled a 180, tore backward, and made landfall in Savannah, Georgia. 1 life was lost and damage was extensive. At first, nobody could be sure what happened, but it looked like Project Cirrus had caused the hurricane to go haywire. Later, investigators showed there was almost zero chance the dry ice had any effect on the hurricane. The storm had apparently shifted its course before it was introduced, and then the hurricane actually followed known weather patterns. Not everyone was so sure, though, including one of the project's scientists who was convinced they had caused the storm to change course.
My car is completely busted up. I've got water coming in. This is my windshield.
Brianna Willis and her mom had to pull over as Large Hill pounded their SUV in south central Texas Sunday. They got caught in the severe thunderstorm along Interstate 10 in Kerrville. When it finally stopped, hail covered the ground and the sunroof was smashed in. And look at the size of that hail. Luckily, Willis and her mom were not hurt.
I don't understand why you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on. And then, I mean, it's such a simple question, and it's haunted me ever since. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Ask yourself that question. Why do we have to pay to live on a planet we were born on? And who are we actually paying for the privilege of being alive here? Who made them the boss? Who put them in charge? You know? Think about that. We're looking at a war over water when instead of feeding the military-industrial complex, we could be building desalination plants all over the world so everybody could have water, so they could grow crops. But are we doing it? No. Why would we want to do that? Why would we want to empower people to grow food and take care of themselves? Then we can't control them. This is what I'm talking about.
You can't shut your iPhone off. Oh, I know. It's always listening. It's always pinging towers. It's always.
What did Trump say? The desalination plants are going to be too expensive. They can't afford it, but they can send $1 trillion to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And build bases all over the planet. Like Jimmy Dore said, pointed out the other day. So I wanted to point this out, that we're born into this slave system, and we're paying to live here. So you have to ask yourself, who is it that we're paying? Who controls that? Who's keeping us?
That's crazy, isn't it?
That's past crazy.
And then, I mean, it's such a simple question, and it's haunted me ever since.
Willis and her mom were not hurt.
I don't understand why you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on. And then, I mean, it's such a simple question, and it's haunted me ever since. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Ask yourself that question. Why do we have to pay to live on a planet we were born on? And who are we actually paying for the privilege of being alive here? Who made them the boss? Who put them in charge? You know? Think about that. We're looking at a war over water when instead of feeding the military-industrial complex, we could be building desalination plants all over the world so everybody could have water, so they could grow crops. But are we doing it? No. Why would we want to do that? Why would we want to empower people to grow food and take care of themselves? Then we can't control them. This is what I'm talking about.
You can't shut your.
There you go.
Yep.
Where are we at? Yeah, that's it. Something to think about. That's all I got for tonight.
Hang on 1 second. To share this young man, I don't watch American Idol. I did catch this clip surfing social media earlier today. And this is when they were in Disney Week, I think it was, but that's neither here nor there. There's some great artists, young artists in this group of people. If all this is true, this young man really has set a tone. Started out 17, turned 18, and the process of the show that it is right now. And his name's Slater McNally, or Slater Nally. And he did a stunning performance of Over the Rainbow. And I want you to listen to the words and listen to the delivery of it as well. And just remember, there is a pot of gold in the rainbow. It's all depends on you and your ability to go there, right? Everything is not roses and lollipops either, but this was very emotional when I heard it today, because I was looking for hope, and so many people are looking for hope, and we just have to remember that we live in a world that we create. It's no longer created for us, fortunately, right? So enjoy this as we close out tonight.